In this video, I want to share 15 lessons about starting a company extracted from this book, That Will Never Work, by Marc Randolph, the main co-founder of Netflix. This book is basically about how Marc and his friend Reed started this amazing company from scratch. So I highly recommend this book to you, especially if you want to start your own company, launch your own startup. There are a lot of great lessons in this book, and in this video I just want to share some of the best tips from the book with you. If by any chance after watching this video you became interested in reading this book, I highly recommend to order this book from the link below in the description. It directs you to bookdepository.com, the greatest online bookstore worldwide. They have a free delivery around the world, and the book also is cheaper there. So order it with the link below in the description. Okay, let's start. Lesson number 1. Epiphanies are rare. Ideas come slowly. This means whenever you hear a story about a company and how they came up with the original idea, you need to doubt that. Marc here tells us that most of the companies create some stories around how they actually came up with the initial idea and how they started their companies for the media because they want to get more attention. So those stories in most cases are hardly true, as it was for Netflix. The famous story about Netflix is that Reed, the other co-founder of Netflix, went to a DVD rental store, and when he couldn't find what he wanted in that time, he suddenly came up with the idea of Netflix. While the true story is far from that and more complicated. It's a long story and you can read it in this book. But briefly, Marc, the main co-founder of Netflix, came up with more than hundreds of ideas, and then finally he decided to go with the idea of Netflix. Okay, lesson number 2. Nobody knows anything. The name of the book is That Will Never Work, which is actually the whole idea of this book. Marc says that the first time that he told about his idea to his wife, she told that will never work. He also heard this from all of his friends and colleagues. Marc here says that most of the times that you tell about your idea for the first time to your friends and your family, they usually say that it doesn't work, that will never work at all. So you need to be prepared for that. However, that will never work is true to some extent, because the final idea after months of working won't be the same as the initial idea. So Marc believes that nobody knows anything and you just need to start, and eventually the idea will get better along the way. Also, he agrees that there are some bad ideas, but you don't know it until you try it. Lesson number 3. Ask for money if somebody says that your idea is good. There are times that actually some of your friends tell you that your idea is really good, but you shouldn't be happy about that at all, because it's far more dangerous than the times that they tell you it won't work, because their positive comment gives you the courage to follow your idea. But what if the idea is not good that much and they just wanted to tell you what you wanted to hear? Marc's solution here is that ask them for some money to invest on your project, on your idea, even for a small amount, because it proves that they really like your idea, that are willing to do some investment on your idea and take the risks. Lesson number 4. Use others' money. In the Silicon Valley, there is a famous quote: stick to opium, others people money. Marc says that when you have an idea and you're willing to put a lot of time and effort to work on that idea, find somebody else to bring some money. It's not wise to do everything by yourself and at the same time use your own money. He did the same thing himself when asked his friend Reed to invest $3 million on the idea, while he was responsible to build the company and gather the team. And also he insists that you should use all the money, but you should use it wisely. Lesson number 5. In pitching, projection is important, not perfection. What does it mean? Well, when you want to pitch your idea or when you want to tell about your company in front of some investors, tell the truth. Don't lie or don't try to hide important negative things. Marc says that the important key to a successful pitch is to read the room, sense what they want to hear, and then give that to them without lying or changing the truth. You don't have to have all the answers. Lesson number 6. Shit sandwich is a speaking tactic in business. Use that when you want to break a bad news. You open up with a string of compliments. That's your first piece of bread. Then it's time to pile on the shit, the bad news, the things that your audience doesn't particularly like to hear. And finally, you close with more bread, something like a plan to deal with the problems. This was actually the technique that Reed used to tell Mark that he's no longer good for being a CEO and he needs to be replaced. But he first started telling about positive things about Mark, then he told about the actual bad news and ended with some positive words. Lesson number 7. Focus on one specific domain. Netflix at first started as an online store to both sell and rent DVDs. The part of selling was really profitable in comparison to renting part. But in the end, they decided to focus on one thing, and it was renting part. And now when you look back, you see that it was the right decision to do. They actually came up with a system to allow users to rent as much as DVD they want, as long as they pay the monthly price. Lesson number 8. Enjoy the journey. In a lot of places in the book, Mark said that he started a company not only because of the money, but also because of the real pleasure in planning and solving the problems. He was in love with the problems, not the solutions. He believes that the startup gives meaning to life. The reason is that there will be always some problems, even after launching the startup, even after earning some revenue. Lesson number 9. Keep your relationship with your family healthy. Mark says that for the first few months, I didn't mind the long hours, but after a few months, I was worried that I'm not prioritizing my relationship with my wife. So he instituted Tuesday date nights. No matter what happens, he decided to leave work at exactly 5 o'clock, only on Tuesdays, and spend the whole night with his wife. This is only one example that tells you that during a starting company, it's really important to keep your relationships healthy and actually take your relationships seriously. But of course, it's really difficult. But if Mark did this with having 3 kids, probably we can. Lesson number 10. A short tip. Mark's father said in this book that as you get older, you learn what you like and what you're good at. You're a lucky man if what you're good at is what you like. Lesson number 11. If people want your product, they will break down your door and beg for more. If they don't want what you got, changing the color palette won't make a damn difference. Here in this book, he talks about the experience they had when they wanted to convince more users to rent more DVDs from them. They did all sorts of visual things on the website, but it didn't work. So they came up with a monthly system to allow the users to rent as much DVD as they want by paying only a monthly price. Suddenly the traffic of the website went up because this was something that users actually wanted to have. Lesson number 12. Generate revenue, even small. There was a lot of reasons why dot-com bubble crash happened in 2000, but one of the most important reasons was that most of the companies during that time didn't have actual revenue. Mark believes that the reason why Netflix survived from that crash was that actually they were making some money, even the money was small. So whatever you want to do, just make sure that your system makes money, even a small amount. Lesson number 13. Employees like me want freedom, not a free hot tub. Here in this book, Mark tells a really funny story about a company in his past. There were all sorts of hobbies for the employees, but even those things didn't stop employees from complaining about a company, even when they were in the free hot tub. So Mark concludes that employees want to have freedom in working, not these kinds of hobbies. Even big amount of salary doesn't make them happy sometimes. And so instead of salary, he gave the early employees some part of the company as stock options and some shares to motivate them to work meaningfully. Lesson number 14. Choose a really bad name at the beginning. A very important thing, in Mark's opinion, is that you need to build your company independent from the name of the company. Name it in a way that you can change it along the way without having too much problem. Because most likely the name you choose at the beginning won't be the same name at the end. One way to consider this tip is that you come up with a really bad name at the beginning. Netflix at first was Kibble, which is some kind of dog food, I think. And last but not least, lesson number 15. Mistakes are not always bad. Let me finish with a really funny story from this book. In the early days of Netflix, they wanted to record the court of Bill Clinton on DVDs and then sell it to users. I'm not quite sure what this court was about, but I think it was something related to sexual harassment or something like that. But anyway, they recorded the whole thing from TV, but instead of sending those DVDs, they accidentally sent some porn DVDs to users. But it's not the funny part. The funny part is that Netflix told all the customers that if anybody got the wrong DVD, please send it back to Netflix so that we can actually provide them with the correct one. But guess what? Nobody said that they got the wrong DVD. In other words, they kept the porn DVDs. Okay, that's it. All 15 lessons extracted from this book. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you by any chance became interested in buying this book, you can order it from the link in the description directly from bookdepository.com, which has a free delivery, and also the book is cheaper there. See you, take care.